Hi, my name is Rod Main, and thanks for watching this video. Today, I want to talk about part 3 in the IELTS speaking test, and this is really probably the most important part of the test. The part 3 of the IELTS speaking test, it could be said that this is more of a natural conversation between the examiner and the candidate. You continue a conversation from the topic that you receive in part 2 when they did their long turn. This is the only part where examiners can create their own questions, and they do that with follow-up questions. Now, the examiner has 3 sets of 3 questions to choose from. In the first set of 3 questions, those are kind of reserved for the candidates who are in band range from anywhere from 1 to as high as 6. In the second set of 3 questions, these are for the higher intermediate level candidates. They would range, if you thought the candidate was between a 5 to a 7, you may start there. And the third set of 3 questions is really reserved for the high level candidates, band 7 to 9. And only very occasionally would an examiner start with that set of questions. Part 3 in the IELTS test is 4 to 5 minutes long. Now, the examiner, they have to choose the set of questions that's appropriate to the candidate's band level. So by part 3, the examiner has a good idea what band level that the candidate is at. And if they think a candidate is better, they'll probably start with the first set of 3 questions and then skip ahead to the second set of 3 questions. The examiner must reword the questions that are appropriate to make them appropriate to the candidate's band level, just so that the candidate can understand what's being asked. The examiner must use appropriate unscripted follow-up questions to develop a discussion. So this means that after the candidate has responded to the question that was written in the booklet, then the examiner maybe will ask something about what the candidate said in their response and have them develop that a little further. Finally, the examiner has to stick to the prescribed timing. At the beginning of part 3, the examiner will say, we've been talking about house you'd like to live in, and I'd like to ask you 1 or 2 more general questions related to this. Let's consider first of all, and then they go into the questions that are in part 3. However, if the examiner says, you've been talking about Kobe Bryant, and I'd like to ask you 1 or 2 more general questions about I don't know, a house you'd like to live in. That means that the candidate, your response was off topic, and the examiner does this to kind of tell you that you're off topic and try to bring you back on topic for the part 3. Now, in part 3, the examiner will really kind of narrow down your grammatical range and accuracy and your vocabulary, your LR. This is the part where they're going to really kind of decide, is this candidate a 6, a 6.5, or maybe as high as a 7? The follow-up questions that the examiner asks should be related to what the candidate has just been talking about. Again, they're trying to develop the conversation. And in this part, the examiner will try to ask 3 questions, and each of those 3 questions with another follow-up question, for a total of 6 in this part. For the candidate strategy, I can't say it enough. Keep going. Just speak until the examiner interrupts you, okay? You need to listen carefully to the examiner's questions and answer appropriately. If you give kind of an off-topic answer, or it's not exactly what the examiner was expecting or really related directly to the question, then they're kind of questioning your grammar. So focus on your grammar and vocabulary, okay? Take risks. Go ahead. Try to use some unusual lexis that you've learned before, or try to speak in more complex sentence structures. It's the only way you're really going to elevate yourself to a higher band level. And never say, I don't understand to the examiner. Ask them, can you rephrase your question? Maybe it almost is suggesting that the examiner didn't word it well. Remain friendly and engaging. If the examiner likes you or comes across, if you come across the examiner as being a good person, it may make a difference in your band rating. A couple of questions that I could think of about part three. Again, why did the examiner interrupt me? Now, just remember, the examiner is still trying to ask 3 rephrased questions from the booklet and 3 follow-up questions. They have 4 to 5 minutes to do this, so they're only trying to give a standard test most of the time, okay? Standard test means 4 to 5 minutes. However, if you feel that the examiner has not given you enough time to complete your thoughts, in other words, you weren't even able to complete one sentence in that 4 to 5 minutes, you should make a complaint to the test supervisor. Another question that people have asked is, why did the examiner seem to argue with me? Here, the examiner may be testing the coherence of your response. Is what you're saying making sense? If you contradict yourself, maybe he or she is trying to clarify exactly what you meant to say. However, if the examiner seems overly critical, if they ridicule you, or it's clear that they're arguing with you, you should make a complaint to the test supervisor. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it was helpful. If it was, then please like it, subscribe, leave a comment, or ring the bell, and I'll be posting more again soon.